This episode is brought to you by Constellation Home Builder Systems, helping residential builders reduce costs and drive growth with more powerful, easy-to-use construction management software. Learn more at constellationhb.com.
Hey everyone, Andrew Vega here with Constellation. This is called the Power to Build podcast. I've got two of my friends here. I've got Ralph Williams. He's with Pyvot Homes out of DFW. And then I've got, the famous Clint Shipley with Riverside Homes out of Fort Worth, Texas. And so the goal of this podcast, of the Power to Build podcast, is once a month we bring in some pretty intelligent people in the industry that kind of know what they're doing, and it's kind of my way of getting together just some people that I know, some friends that I know, and let's just talk about what's going on in the industry. Our last show we really focused on new home buyers. We talked about a little bit of the process, sales in general, how to attract new first-time home buyers to the market, and that was a great success. We had a lot of comments on that. It's just something that I think the three of us, we've been in this industry for a long time, or consulted in this industry for a long time as well, and I think what we're seeing now is how are we attracting new buyers, new homeowners, first time homeowners to the market. You know, military. Let's talk about the military. Some of those guys might be coming home here pretty soon, hopefully. What is there a strategy around that? There's a lot of incentives that are going on. We're still a little bit higher than what we've been through in the last 5 years when it comes to interest rates, how that's kind of playing into some strategies. Um, uh, there was a really good question I had too, but I forgot. Um, I'll see if I can remember, dig it up through my notes. But anyways, so I'm gonna give you guys just a few seconds to introduce yourself, tell me who you are. I'll take some notes here. I'll try and find what I was supposed to talk about here. But Ralph, I'll start with you.
Hi. Um, I apologize if I don't look as sexy and as handsome as I usually do, but I'm just getting off a cold. And but no, I'm the owner of Pivot Homes. We do semi-custom luxury homes from about 600,000 to probably 1,500,000. And then another company I own is Sales Solve Everything. That's probably what a lot of people know me from, is basically sales training, sales operations, working with companies all across the nation. So those are kind of my two hats right now. And I think it's, I was telling both of you earlier that it's just kind of a unique perspective that I get to see it from both sides, the feeling of an owner, but also the feeling from a consultant and or a sales professional or sales management level. So I'm hoping I can give some both insights on both sides that might be a little unique.
All right, Clint Shipley, Vice President at Riverside Home Builders. Kind of same thing, bring both sides of the table here. Was in sales for a number of years, got transferred over to operations about 4 years ago. So my background's predominantly sales. So I feel like I can bring some value here.
Yeah, I would love to try and sell you guys something. Oh wait, I do. That's right. So I guess I'm pretty good at it. Let's see. So I've been in home building for about 23, 24 years right now. Kind of aging a little bit, but that's all right. We're moving along. It's experience at this point.
Wisdom.
All right, so let's just jump into it. So today we're going to talk about two main things, and it's something that's been on my mind. I talked to you guys about this a little bit, maybe last week sometime. One of them is, and this all came to me because I sold a house in Denver. I had this little house. It was actually a little house that I had in Denver. And I've had it for a long time. I've since moved to Jacksonville, Florida. But the people that I sold this to, they were first time home buyers, right? The wife, she was pregnant or is pregnant. I don't know how far along she is, but she's very pregnant. And so they wanted a small little home. So this was a 3 bedroom, 1 bath house. It's about 1,700 square feet. Just a cute little white and black little house that I had for quite a while. Anyways, so these guys came. They had a realtor. They spoke with my realtor, and um, when we went under contract, the first thing that they did was they sent out this calendar of, for the next 6 weeks, this is what's going to happen. for myself, I've bought other homes before. Again, kind of gone through this roller coaster stuff for a long time. But for them, I was just like, oh, we got to talk about this, because just like we did in our last podcast, we started talking about, really kind of targeting first time home buyers and the incentives you guys are offering and stuff like that. But I do remember the first time I bought my first home, and it was like no one told me I had to go get an inspection. No one told me that I had to turn around, and I guess it's assumed I had to go find insurance. I had to go, I dealt with the bank every single day for like 3 weeks straight. Like all this stuff and everything else. And so this wasn't a brand new home that I had bought. So on the new home side, just because there is, as we've heard in the past, just last year, there is some anxiety. There's some people get anxious with all of those different things, not only just speaking with professional salespeople, but at the same time, you throw in the what do I do now type of thing, right?
Mhm.
Am I doing this the right way? Is my agent the right person to talk to? So, Clint, I'm going to start with you. So, just you give as much time as you want, but just talk. How do you baby step those? How do you walk those people through? What does that look like?
Okay. I'll share two stories. One, obviously, when I was in the new home sales, but my oldest son and his wife just bought a house closed last week. So I got a similar story because that was their realtor on that. So I've got kind of both sides I can share. So on the new home side, I would spend time once we feature benefit of the house, once we really narrow down the house they're going to I go into the process and really educate buyers on the process of buying a house from, earnest money, talk about inspections, talk about final walks, and just go through the hurdles that they're going to face, the 30, 45 days, 6 months, or however long it may be to get the home closed and really put them at ease. It is stressful, right? Because when you're buying a house, there's always hurdles that pop up no matter what the situation is, from building a house or buying a pre-owned home or buying a spec that's going through it. So there's hurdles that pop up that you got to really put them at ease and set the expectations. Not only that, obviously you're dealing with banks, you're dealing with appraisals, you're dealing with whoever. The buyers a lot of times are also dealing with their family, because you're not only selling them the house, they have to turn around and sell the house to their family when they get home. So you got to give them enough value, enough information. So when they start bringing up the objections, their mom, their dad, their sister, their brother, their friend, whoever, they have to be able to overcome their objections with their family when they get home. So not only are you selling to them, you're selling to people you don't even know you're selling to. So it's a really important part of the process, because buyer's remorse is a real thing. I have it anytime I buy something. If I really don't educate myself when I get home, I sometimes regret it. So depending on the personality, you really got to educate them to ensure when they get home, not they start backing out, they're selling that house to their friends, their family as well. And that's a big part. And then obviously there's the appraisal, the title, the going through the objections with the lenders and whatnot. That's very important. On the most recent, because I haven't been in sales for 5 years now, but most recent with my son and my daughter-in-law is they called me. I'm sorry, we were together at a baby shower or something, baby birthday party or something. And this house popped up and it's like, oh, we want to go look at this. I'm like, well, I can schedule it and we can go take a look. I said, I didn't think you're in the market. Because we weren't, but this is a really good deal. I'm like, great. Schedule the showing. Then we looked at it Sunday, called me Sunday night and said, we want the house. So we wrote the offer. And same thing there. I went through the whole process with, here's what's going to happen, right? Wrote the offer, finally negotiated back and got the offer accepted. But I was their agent. So I had to hold their hand. Not only was a dad, but I was an agent as well. So I educated on the inspection, scheduled the inspection for them, had the inspector go out there, and basically took all the concerns away from them because I handled it for them. Talked to them about the lender, set them up with our preferred lender. Our lender was amazing. Walked them through the steps. It was the easiest process that they've ever gone through. And beforehand, they were terrified. They were terrified to buy a house because they thought it was so hard to do. It was so overwhelming, and they didn't want anything to do it. Well, if you make it easy and just guide them throughout the process, it's easy for everyone. So
Yeah.
we closed the Friday before last, I believe it was. We're walking out of the title company. My daughter all looked at me. She's like, my God, is it always this easy? I don't. If everybody knew this, they'd buy the house. I said it is always that easy if you know what you're doing. So it's important to marry up with somebody that knows what they're doing throughout the entire process, not some realtor that just popped up overnight or some salesperson that's new to the business. Marry up with somebody that knows the process and helps you and guides you throughout the process. Not just leaves you on your own. They literally check in on you and guide you through and help you overcome those objections or hurdles that pop up. So I would say, for us from new home sales and to this most recent scenario, just marry up with somebody that knows what they're doing and is educated on what they're doing and lean on them throughout the process. And that's kind of what we do here in Riverside.
Yeah. So on the pivot side, I'm gonna pivot homes. So if your range is from 7 to $1 million, you're probably not dealing too much with first time home buyers. Maybe,
Not much.
but not much. So does that process change a little bit? Do you have, I don't know if that would be considered like second homes or anything like that. Is like, what do you guys do to kind of walk people through? Or do you assume, since you're not really working with new, first time home buyers, they kind of have it, they kind of know what's going on?
Well, okay, so I don't think they know what's going. In general, maybe they feel more comfortable with the process, a buyer that's done it a couple times. So, but they also have some experiences. That experience could have been great, but it could have been bad too on those experiences. So, what I would say is wherever we're at on the pivot homes process, let's say they're going to do a build job, then we would walk them through the stages of what's going to happen. Like, first, you're going to pick a floor plan, then we're going to find a home site, then we're going to, the lender's going to be involved. We're going to go through this process. Then we're going to have a pre-construction after you purchase and you've gone to the design center. And then, so we lay out a calendar of events so that they can know what those expectations are. And I think that if we don't put expectations out there, then they set what they think the expectation should be, which is horrible, right? They're like, so my house is going to be done in 3 months, or like, and if you're not constantly setting those things. So in our process, once you get on contract, depending on the stage, we're going to contact you once a week proactively and tell you exactly where we're at and kind of what's happened this last week and what's kind of expected to happen in the following week. And then if there's ever a time where, let's say we hit a weather patch and it was like a month of weather and we couldn't pour a slab, then we would be saying, hey, this is going to affect your move-in date. Like, without affecting the quality, we're not going to rush things. It's going to push this back. And here's now the new expectation. So it's a constant expectation setting spot, even if they've built a home before. The other part is, let's say they build it and it's already completed. We have a completed inventory showcase home on the ground. We're going to give them kind of what the normal process is with us the next 30 days. Let's say we have a 30-day closing target and what has to be accomplished, whether they have a realtor or not. Some come in with a realtor and some do not. So those that don't, they still want to know what the process is. And so we give them kind of like a checklist and kind of a list of expectations of what's supposed to happen when, in order for us to meet our deadlines, and kind of what inspections might look like and what walkthroughs might look like. And so that's kind of what we do depending on where the buyer's in the process. And I think it's, it's funny. Like when I think doesn't matter if they're really educated, they still, I think it's our job to actually tell them what our process is, so we can set proper expectations. I think anytime we have bad customer satisfaction, it's usually because we didn't set the right expectations or help them through the path. So that to me is really important.
I agree with that. Let me tag something onto that. So, and I'm sure Ralph will agree with this. If you don't have a salesperson or a realtor asking you a bunch of questions, you need to run, right?
Okay.
Because they're only in it for themselves if they're not asking the right questions, because they need to educate themselves on what your current situation is. If it's your first time, second time, third time, what happened before when you bought a house? Did you run into issues? So if you're not being asked the questions, you need to run, because they're not paying attention to what's important to you. Because a lot of times you could buy 10 houses. I've personally built 4 or 5 houses, and my second one gave me high blood pressure. Right. So if I had a salesperson I would share that experience, because then that salesperson's educated or realtor's educated on what to set with you, right? If this is going to happen, and here's how you deal with it. So if you don't have realtors or salespeople asking you the questions, you may want to find somebody else.
Well, and that's the beauty of structure, right? And let's say you do have a realtor, like, to me, they should be leaned on from the buyer to take away their fears.
Mhm.
And that's what a builder's job is too, is if you put enough structure, enough communication, then you're gonna ease the fears and you're gonna be ahead of the curve of what's gonna happen so you can be ahead of it all the time. And so that to me is people get anxiety because we haven't educated them probably or haven't given them what the process is. I'll give you
Yeah.
one that I hear a lot of times. I don't know if this is the right spot, but it just reminds me, like, when we talk about, like, a final walkthrough, and let's say they had a builder in the past that handed them a roll of blue tape and said, "Go, like, mark up the house and see wherever like, whatever fault you find, put a piece of blue tape." That to me is, like, the worst ever, and, like, you can't the the problem with that is we shouldn't do that as a builder, in my opinion.
Nope.
We shouldn't we should leave we should the only time they should inspect the house, honestly, is when they have comfort that we're the one that's building it and we'll find the errors, that I would only have maybe 5 things in the house that might need something, just 5 little things, and so my rule is like a handful or less that we should be able to find, and we shouldn't make them in the inspector. And the problem is every time you hand it, and this happens well, my builder, they gave me a roll of blue tape and told me hit all the spots, and I want to make sure I get everything. So what do you think they do? They look with a microscope
Yep.
and there's 1,000 blue tape marks. And the truth is now they found all your boogers in your home
Mhm.
and they can never unsee the boogers.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like I tell them, I'm not going to give you a roll of blue tape. You're not the inspector. We are, and we're going to hand you the house. And if there's a handful, that's normal. If it's not, I'm not going to be happy with the quality that we're giving you. And so then it becomes a different type of walkthrough, but that gives them comfort. And then we can go farther and we can just have a sign off when those 5 are done or less,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
about setting that expectation at the end. And that goes for the specs as well. Because even if that home is complete, I've had the same thing. Well, can you give me a blue tape? I'm gonna put all this and we gotta set expectations
Yeah.
and we're gonna walk the house first. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the whole blue tape thing.
My
Yeah.
my parents just bought a new house, a smaller home, about a year ago, and I did the walkthrough. And they gave me a roll of blue tape, and I I almost ran through the entire roll because I
It
was just,
happens. It'll
oh my,
happen every time.
it's
Yeah.
just
Every time it'll happen
Yeah.
because you don't wanna miss anything and you think it's your it's just horrible.
Yeah.
yeah,
We follow the same problem, very similar to Ralph. The only thing we may, and he may do this as well, is before we even get to that point, the builders walked it, the warranty reps walked it, the salespersons walked it, and then we schedule a customer orientation walk. So it's walked 3 times
Yep.
before it makes it to the buyer. And in most cases, that orientation walk falls into place, like Ralph just said. It's basically, it's teaching the buyer about the house, not walking through with blue tape, because we don't
yeah,
give them blue tape either. We want to make sure when they get there, it's not the buyer's job to do our job.
Exactly.
It's our job to make sure the home is buttoned up. So if you give if you have to your point, Andrew, if you walk through and finish a roll of tape, that builder's got problems.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the,
and you can't get away with it, and and I think that didn't I guess the question for me to you would be, how did you feel when you got handed the roll of blue tape?
Yeah, well, I didn't I felt like honestly, I felt like why it was really after the first thing that I saw, which was a cracked tile on the
mhm.
entranceway. I was just like, "Okay, so you just gave this to me, but literally you just didn't you no one even looked at that?" So, like, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna use this blue tape."
Yeah. And
That
that,
was
well, because you don't trust the builder then, right?
yeah.
Right.
That's literally you say. I mean, that's I think I probably learned this from Ralph years ago, but it goes back to cleanliness is quality, right? So if you just walk into a home, orientation walk, and if there's not vacuum lines in the carpet and it's not
Yeah.
spotless, you automatically start taking credit away from the buyer and losing trust. I'm sorry, from the builder. So you lose trust. So if
Mhm.
you walk in and see that cracked tile, crack wall, whatever, you cancel that walk, fix it, and then reschedule the walk. You do not want your buyer. We do not want our buyers walking in and finding that. It's not their job. They should be excited.
You know, it's funny because on the consultant, I'll now go sales solve everything side. When I'm out
Yeah.
there teaching builders, and like you said with Clint, it's like uh, you really are you're giving up total control, and you're really you're setting a bad example like that you're not like you could be the inspector. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And it never comes back good. Like those, when you look at customer satisfaction scores afterwards, I would always tell my builder, have it done before they walk. And the idea is, well, I want to make sure they feel good about it, right? So I think the thought process maybe from some builders is like, I'm doing this on their behalf. Like I want to make sure they're totally happy. I think that maybe is a good thought. It's just a wrong thought.
Yeah.
It's an uneducated thought because if they've done it long enough, they found that that's not what actually satisfies a buyer.
No, they want it to be buttoned up.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's before I move on to the next topic, let me backtrack a little bit because I want to make sure I cover this, right? Because if you have a first time home buyer that's on YouTube or scouring the interwebs, I want to make sure that this comes out. So, wife and I are single. I'm going out looking for a house. I go into one of your models, Clint, and I'm like, oh, this one's pretty cool. I like this one. What do I do? Should I go should I go get a realtor? Like I want to run step by step.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through, I
Okay.
mean, it's fairly
Well,
easy.
you're
Fairly
not
easy.
going to be in a model by yourself. Number
But if
one.
I'm driving around, you guys have models everywhere,
Yeah, well,
right?
if you walk in, so let's just say you walk into an open house, right? If it's a Saturday, we have locked all the homes and we have an open house at a property, you walked in, we're nowhere to be found, which hope that's not the case. I think we touched base on this the last podcast. You find somebody you trust. I mean, I think you walk into the sales model and have a conversation with that buyer and just see, what the comfort level is of that buyer. If for saying, golly, shame on me for saying this, but for some reason, if that trust factor and the chemistry is not there and you're not feeling it, then you may reach out to find a realtor. But I would hope that's not the case with Riverside. I'd hope that, all of our salespeople, we're not pushy salespeople. We're there to consult. We're there to help you throughout the entire process. So
So I found the house. I walk
yeah.
in, I see it, and I'm like, I don't have a realtor, but you're nice people coming. I feel comfortable, right? Even
Okay.
though I don't like
Yeah.
dealing with salespeople as all of that. I walk in, I see Lindsay, and she's
Okay.
just all of that, and I'm like, all right, I know Lindsay. You're not in sales, but I'm just this
Yeah.
scenario. I walk in, I'm like, okay. Wife is like, I love this house, and then I'm like, hey, it's full of options. We're not going to get this exact house, so we're going to think if we're going to have to talk about this. So anyway, so walk in, I'm like, I want that house.
Great.
Walk over to the salesperson or whomever is kind of hanging around. I'm like, hey, we'd like to move forward. We'd like to do something, right? Like what next step? Go.
Well, so in that scenario, that's just amazing because, right, I'm selling a house.
I was gonna say, does that happen?
Oh, that
That
doesn't
never,
happen?
but if it did happen, right, I would slow it down and walk you through the process, right? I'm still going to set the expectations because, again, back in my sales days, I was a process close. So I'm going to slow you down and ask what you liked about the house and just really get you bought into it and then walk you through the entire process. Okay, here's how it works when you buy a house from Riverside. We're going to sit down. We're going to discuss contract. I'm going to set you up with a preferred lender. But I'm also asking discovery questions because I need to know your current situation. Do you have a house to sell? How's your credit? How long you been in your job? Are you paying cash? There's a lot of questions that I need to ask to determine where to send you. You may be paying cash for the house, so I don't need to send you to a bank. There's something about the lot you didn't like. We may do a build job, but ultimately I'm going to ask you discovery questions to find out what's going on with your current situation. And from there, I'm going to walk you through the process because my questions I ask are to determine how's your current credit situation. Do you need to go FHA? Do you need to go conventional? What type of financing you may be? Because I'm going to link you up with the right lender based on your current situation. So with those discovery questions, I'm going to say, okay, great. From here, I'm going to get you pre-qualified with whatever our preferred lenders. And then from there, we're going to type up contract, get contract going, and collect an earnest money deposit. And just go throughout the entire process. If it's a completed home, we're going to talk about, what's next in regards to customer orientation walks, appraisals, title, and whatnot like that. But I would just walk you through the entire process on buying a home. And then ask you if you have any concerns that we need to be worried about. So
What about you, Ralph? Does that change depending on
Price point a little bit?
Yeah.
I would say a little bit because the only thing I would slow it down, like Clint said. First of all, it'd be rare if somebody says, "Hey, I want to make an offer." That just doesn't really happen that much. Maybe if we were in COVID times, but not now when we're relevant to this time right now. I would slow it down. We want to understand what their situation is, but in that part of that, I'll skip some of the steps because they're the same. But the steps I might say that might be a little bit different is, do you currently own a home? And what do you plan on doing with that? Are you going to keep it? You're going to rent it out? You're going to, like, what is your plan? Because a lot of times they don't have to sell it, right? And they might
Yep.
want to keep it as an investment. And so we kind of talk strategy there. And then we say, here's kind of the process. If it's a completed one, then we'll let's sit down and go over the paperwork. Let's talk with a lender, or I'll ask them, do you have a current lender? Most of those guys do usually at the higher level, or they know their financial situation pretty good. But I also do something that's a little different is I do sit down. If they're not going to pay cash, then I will kind of want to work on the numbers and kind of put the numbers out for them. And a lot of people in that price range, you think they can qualify, or they know they don't buy a home that
Uh-uh.
often. They buy a
Uh-uh.
home every 5 years, 7, 10, 15. And I've had accountants that say, yeah, I know there's tax benefits or whatever it is, but they don't really know what they are. And so I'll kind of just walk them through. So based on what you're telling me, you're putting this amount much down. This is what the payment's going to be. This is your taxes. This is your so I do want to educate them and I'm watching them right from the sales side and saying, is this no big deal? Or like, oh, I forgot about taxes, or I forgot about this, or I'm on a fixed income, or so there's different things that we're doing during the process. But then we go through the paperwork and I tell them how we're going to communicate with them and what to expect along the way, whether it's a build job or whether it would be a home that's already on the ground and completed.
Yeah.
So,
Do you do you have do you have insurance companies that you guys work with? I'm assuming, right? So if I'm a first time home buyer, or maybe I'm transferring over into a new state to Texas, do you guys have agents that you're like, hey, look, we've used these three people. I mean, to the point where you're kind of like a one stop shop, right?
yeah,
You're
Yeah.
you're kind of everything.
yeah, we have a list of different vendors and trades that we feel comfortable referring. And they're not based on that we get kickbacks or referrals or a piece of the pie, and I always say that too. These are companies that we use and trust because we know they do the best job for our customers, and we don't get paid any differently. We just wanna make sure you're with good people that can help
Yeah.
you through the process. So,
Yeah.
we wanna be very transparent about that, but we do want them to work with companies that we trust too, that don't give us the wrong answers. Like, there's been lenders on the other side, "Oh, these people are great," and they send over basically a crappy pre-approval,
Yeah.
and then there's something wrong with it. "Well, we said it's conditional," right? There's always like a
Yeah.
way out on their approvals, but not when I work with a lender that we work with. They're gonna tell them and or tell me, "These people can do it," or, "Here's some of our challenges that we're gonna have to overcome," or, "Here's some things we need to consider." So,
Yeah.
I do it for 2 reasons: to help the customer, but to make sure that we're working with people that we know can actually close on the
Yeah.
transaction.
Perform. Hey, Ralph, to your discovery, and you'd probably agree with this because here's my sales mode is even throughout that entire process that you're talking payment, it's selling. Right?
Totally.
Because you're picking up that body language as you ask the question, and if you see something off, you have to ask a deeper question, right, to see what their
Right.
concerns are. And
Yep.
throughout that entire process, you're selling the down payment, you're selling the rate, you're selling everything. It's just not selling a house; it's
Mm-mm.
selling everything
Yep.
because you're going to pick up at times. They're kind of take a deep breath. Go, oh, okay, what did I
Well,
say something
that's
concerning?
exactly when I said when you look at them across
Yeah,
the
yeah.
table,
They
when you
kick back like this. You're like, oh,
see body
yeah,
language, it's Marco Polo. And you said something to start this whole conversation is we think the upper end buyers know everything, but they also need to know why it's a smart decision because even though they're smart, they're going to talk to, like you said, friends or
hmm
families, and there's going to be naysayers saying, "What are you doing right now?" I need to make sure I cover all the like, hey, now's a good time to buy. When people aren't buying and the deals are, that's when the smart money buys because here's what happens when it turns. So I'm giving them everything, hopefully, that validates why they're making a great decision
yep,
that they can also in turn relay in a simple form to other people that they might be talking to about, are you kidding? The market's crazy. Interest rates are high. Like I got to have counters and I tell them why they're doing all the right things. And I've seen this before and our experience tells them they're making a very wise choice.
Have
yep.
you had family members come and like poo poo the deal
Oh,
the
absolutely,
because the buyers didn't like sell it to their family?
absolutely.
Really?
I have one
Yeah.
going on right now. Like a person wanted one and my salesperson has dealt with them for about an hour, but it was the son, these people, the couple's moving from Louisiana, the parents and the kids are here. And you know, there's different levels of homes, and my homes cost more. I have different things in them. And they're like, well, the people next door are selling the same square footage for 50,000 less. So we want the home for 50,000 less. You're just trying to make more money on my parents and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, here's our spec sheet. Here's our comps. Here's what we are. Of course, you can buy, if you want to go even lower than them, we can send you 2 miles down the road and you can buy $100,000 less for the same square footage. So is that what you're trying to do? So it's a constant sales pitch. We thought we had the sale. We sent the DocuSign out, but then all of a sudden, the son who lives here wants to show his power, and and so they might poo-poo the deal, but hopefully we've turned it around and sold him, right? So, and the funny thing is, when you've done a good job of that, I swear we get multiple sales from that one person because they're so good about transferring the information. The other person's like, maybe I should be buying a home over there.
Well, I thought you might have brushed out. Was it Zig Ziglar? What's your who do you impersonate?
Zig Ziglar.
Yeah, go ahead, do it. Knock it out for me.
Let's see.
He's gonna kill me for this.
We put him on the spot.
Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, is it price or is it cost you're concerned with? You see, the reason I stress that so strongly is simply this. You see, price is a one-time thing and value is a lifetime thing. Now, others can beat me on price, but nobody can beat me on cost. Don't you really want the best possible cost? That's the version of Zig Ziglar. Sorry.
Yes, and you use it, I'm sure.
That is awesome. That's going down in the book. We're gonna have to snip that out.
I'll get you back for that though, Clint.
We're gonna use that. I love that. You made me cry there, laugh. I don't even know.
When you do a good job selling your customer, I've always learned if you do a great job there, full stop, you get referrals. Because they're so convinced that you do a great job, they're going to tell other people, and they're going to be passionate enough that they're going to come and take a look. And that's happened to us several times. I'm sure it's happened to Clint. When you get one that you've turned around and made them believe and showed them why, then they're the person convinced. Like, why are you buying that crappy house? They don't use Zipboard. They don't do that. Like, they're your salespeople now.
Yeah, you have to be sincere. You have to be sincere. You have to really be compassionate and show sincere with your buyers. Otherwise, they're not selling when they get home. They're backing out.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm under contract. It's a new home. I'm under contract, and I'm talking to your lender or to their lender, either way, right? Talking to their lender. There's certain milestones within construction that you guys track, so you're keeping track of all of this. You're relaying this back over to the buyers, right? They're engaged, they're excited. At some point, they have to go pick out all their options.
Yep.
Right, Clint and Ralph, you guys, how many times? I guess it depends on the home too, right? And the way things are going. But how many times does a buyer schedule? To actually go into the big design center with all of the different tile and cabinets and all of those different things. What is that process? Because if I'm a buyer, I've never actually bought a brand new house. I've never built a house, but I've always wanted to go through that experience because, like, my wife and I, we would love to just pick out cabinets instead of well, you've seen my cabinets.
I bet you have different opinions on this one. Let's see.
I got to give it. So I got two scenarios here, right? So I've built a custom, semi-custom with a onesie twosie guy, right? And I built with some production builders. So my onesie twosie guy is what gave me the high blood pressure because he didn't have a design center. He said, just go to Floor and Decor, go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, go wherever you need to go, pick out what you want, and just send me the SKUs, and we'll order it. So that scenario is the one that gave me high blood pressure because he just sent my wife to Floor and Decor. Granted, I'm in home building, been building at the time for 10 plus years. So we're in Floor and Decor, and there's just thousands of options, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of options, right? So we spent the entire day, and my wife was just lost. And finally, and they have these little stands that you could put your flooring choices so you can see what it is. I told my wife's name Charlotte. I said, Charlotte. She was in tears. I mean, because she just couldn't. It was so overwhelming. I said, just hang out right here. So I just started doing my job as a salesperson, because back then we did our own design appointments, and just matching, just narrow the selections down to like 3 things. And it took the ease off of my wife, because it was so much easier to just look at 3 options versus 3,000. So I will say, trying to do your selections as an open book, as a custom guy, it's extremely overwhelming. At Riverside, we have a full-blown design center, kind of the same thing, right? So we have a design consultant that walks you throughout the entire process and makes recommendations based on design boards you might have seen. So they ask for what their inspiration is. And from there, they try to match up their design selections from that. So when they walk in, we try to narrow the design appointment down to 2 to 3 hours. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it takes all day, just because that's the reality of selecting a whole home. But we try to take the ease off by trying to understand what their inspiration is. So, and we lay designs based on that. It's never easy, right? Building a house, doing selections, and the same that back to selling. When you get home, you kind of have a little bit of remorse and not sure about those selections. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of times we schedule second and third appointments for them to come back up just to validate what their current selections are. It's
Are they
important to
selecting?
link,
Are they selecting cabinets? Just so our listeners
depending on
know,
the stage. Yeah,
cabinet
depending on the stage.
style,
Hmm? Yeah.
appliances.
Countertop. Yeah.
On a new build, they're selecting from, for all the way up, right? Windows, brick,
Oh,
single color window. I mean, the whole 9 yards. So on a build job, it's a pretty extensive design appointment. But again, depends on the stage. If you buy a home, it needs flooring, and you're just picking up flooring at that point.
okay.
But a true build job, yeah, you're spending a good day going through your selections, and in some cases coming back because they're doing NSOs or change orders or whatnot throughout the
I
entire
gotta ask,
process.
how many times has a guy walked out or a woman walked out and just been like, oh, and just walked out like, I can't. Has that ever happened?
It does happen, and it's very important to have a good design consultant that can pick that up and
Okay, I was gonna
understand
say
that. Yeah.
that's where it happens. So like
Yeah.
Clint said, if you're just dealing with a custom builder, and I'm not saying anything, maybe they have their stuff together and they have somebody that takes you from one spot to another and they have a process. But in general, sending them people out is a disaster. It
Mhm.
never works ever. And then they're always pricing things out and nickeling and diming. It's just not good. So I think there's really I've seen 2 good ways that builders do it. Either they have it in-house and they either have selections they can choose maybe in a room at the house, or they have preset palettes maybe. Even at upper end homes, I've seen a 600,000-700,000, they might have 7 different schemes, but they're with great products and good colors, and that takes kind of the fear out of people. People don't make decisions, like buying decisions, because they're uncertain. They do the same thing. A lot of different choices with no direction causes confusion at the design center too. So having a good design center with a good design consultant that knows your product type, whether it's a $350,000 home or if it's an $800,000 home, those are different buyers, what's expected and kind of the process to walk through. At Pyvot, what we do typically is 2-3 hour sessions, and we like them to be at least 4 days apart. We prefer a week. And the reason is kind of what Clint said is they're going to go in, they're going to pick all these colors, and then they're going to get some photos of like a straight shot of what those colors look like and where they're going to be. But they might have questions or have a little bit more. It's like, I really didn't have time, and then a week later they say, well, I didn't really want the gold. I really wanted this color. And so there's some time, and then they have 3 hours to go through the whole thing and walk through it with somebody that can help make those decisions where they're still not quite made. And that's where a good design professional who does it all the time makes them feel comfortable about the color choices they're making. And if they don't, then they're going to be like nervous the whole time, right? And so I think that's really kind of the key to the success there. And then when you're done, kind of set expectations that there's not going to be any more changes, because if you don't set that expectation, then there's an expectation like, well, I still can choose my floors. I have 6 more weeks according to the builder before I have to choose it. Well,
Yeah.
that might change your cabinets, that might change your countertops, that might change your paint colors. So you got to set expectations. If you want good satisfaction and happy buyers, it sounds counterintuitive, but you have deadlines that you stick to, and then they know that you can do your job the right way and you're going to perform the correct way and you're going to deliver a great product. If
Yeah.
not, you'll have problems.
Yeah, the power of no is huge when it comes
Yeah.
to sales. It's actually more important than yes.
Yeah. I think that was
and
a lesson we talked at. I trained one time. There was a great book. I'm trying to remember the author, but I had a program based on the power of the positive no.
Mhm.
So
It's
it's really good.
it's yeah, if again, it's been years since I've sold, but no got me further than yes a lot when you're dealing with this, because if
yeah.
it's a strict no, it goes away. If it's let me check or maybe, boy, it never ends. Then they're changing flooring. Then the next week they're changing countertops. Next they're trying to change it, and at the end of the deal, they're upset because it didn't meet the inspiration that they had from the get go because they changed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of same thing in software development. You know, it's
Eh.
it's
Well, that's true though. Different expectations
it
come
really
along
is.
the way. Well, I can just tell you about a custom one really quick of why it goes sideways, and this one did is like real sideways. As soon as they were like, "Well, my cousin does this, and so we want to do so." Okay, well, hire your cousin, sign him up as a vendor, blah blah blah. Now they're like, "Well, that saved us $2.25," or and then the next thing you know, they're like, these are retired people that have plenty of money.
Yeah.
They're going like to all the homes they see under construction. Well, how much would you charge if you bricked our house, right? And then it's like, so then they come back, well, they said they would do it for $10 a foot, but our cost is more than that. So why don't we use them? I'm like, but I can't deliver the quality. I don't know their time frame. They're not like, there's all these things that go sideways, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
like,
no, we don't do that.
Right.
well, that's why I learned
Yeah.
my lesson that one time, and I don't do it that way. I won't do it on like cost plus, because then they always think I'm going to do it on a fixed price. I'm going to give them a great price, but I do it mainly to cause less confusion and them stop worrying about $10 on a light fixture. Like it's crazy.
It's not worth the stress. It's not worth the stress on the buyer or yourself at that point.
No, and yeah. So if you can set those expectations, that would be my big thing. Then you
Yeah.
win more times than you lose.
Well, I
Agree.
mean, how many times do you get the I had this bathroom remodel. I show up with this really cool Amazon faucet that I found, and plumber's like, "No,
Yeah.
no, not doing that. I'll tell you where to go to pick something out, Ferguson." And I was like, "God, that's $5,000 for this thing." He's like, "Well, I'm not installing anything that comes from Amazon."
Yeah.
I'm
We
like,
wouldn't either. Yeah.
Well, it's I'll give you one. Like hidden hinges on just
"Oh,
doors in the house where it's a smooth wall and like you have no hinge that you can see, and they're opening the door. Well, those hinges are like $800, and the door is a different like it's a different door, it's a different system, and now all of a sudden it's a $2,000 per door thing. But they're like, well, it's just right there on Amazon. It can't be that much money. It should be what, $100? Like no,
Yeah.
like it's just. So that part is really challenging. And I said, well, okay, well, that house is. I actually saved one on the other day because somebody wanted something. Where's my file off? But there was like an entry that was beautiful entry, right? And it's kind of what they're describing. And I pull it up, and the house is $17 million.
that's
Yeah.
what they want."
So I'm like, yeah, that's what you want. I'm sure you do. But
Yeah.
then I need 17 million. So, but that's what happens. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can get, I think when they do that, they should get some inspiration. More color combinations is really the key. Like I've had at my $700,000, $800,000 houses, honestly, I haven't had one come over $35,000 because our upgrade levels, we start at like level 2s and all these higher levels. So we don't nickel and dime people. Like
Yeah.
it's not like hey, here's our base price and you're going to spend 200,000 like a lot of builders do. We actually go in with what we think should be at that level. And our homes, like for example, our spec homes that I've done and they look fantastic, have ranged anywhere from $12,000 in extras over our standard to 30. I think 36 was the largest, and that was on a 3,855 square foot home.
Yeah.
36,000 something.
Wow.
And most people are scared, like you said, is we have to educate people on that because the buyer or the home builder next door to us might be $100,000 less, but we include $100,000, and then when they go to the design center, they spend 200 there, but they
Yeah.
spend 25 with us. But it's so that's what you have to. If you're not educating, you'll lose in that game for sure.
So I'm a first time home buyer, and or I just got out of college, and I don't know the answer to this. I'm really curious. What is it that you guys are seeing? And again, $700,000 to $1 million is a little different. but I'm getting out of college. I'm, early 20s, 22. Maybe I get a job, good job, making, 70, 80. What's the expectation for down payment right now?
So I'll jump on this one because I have two stories. One, obviously, again, go back to my oldest just bought a house that's closed. So um, the great thing about buying a new home in Riverside Home and when it comes to first home, we can buy your rate down along with pay some of your seller concessions. So in most cases on a true FHA down payment, it's 3.5% because we're going to pick up everything else. So all the buyer has to bring to the table is 3.5%.
So
And
three and a
depending
half,
on
let's say $300,000 home, you're looking at about 10 grand.
10.5. Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
So
can't that be a gift, Clint?
yeah, it can. Yeah, it can be borrowed. It can
Okay.
be a gift from. So back to my son. Of course, I was my son's agent, so I was able to get him 7,000 in seller credits on a pre-owned, and then I
Okay.
contributed 100% of my commission to buy his rate down. So my oldest literally walked in 2 weeks ago with just 3.5% down. I bought his rate down to 4.99 with my commission, and then the $7,000 covered everything else. So when buying a home, new construction homes, especially one of ours, we're going to cover in most cases all your closing costs, and a lot of times we're going to even buy your rate down. And that's the benefit of buying new right now. A lot of if I wouldn't have been my son's dad, he would have to pay additional $14,000 to buy his rate down to 4.99 because that was the commission on the deal. So pre-owned, you're not going to get that. Pre-owned, you're going to get, 5, 10, sometimes maybe $15,000 in concessions, which is not going to cover a rate buy down plus your closing costs versus a new home construction. Builders can do that. So you're going to get a better deal going in and buying a new home because we're going to buy your rate down along with paying some of your seller concessions to where you're just paying 3.5% or, zero. Some of our projects like up at Gainesville, USDA,
Yeah,
zero
we
down.
typically as builders have better ways to help a buyer. I know
Yeah.
that sounds unfair, but it's just true.
Well, so just to quickly say this, just in case people don't understand this, is that you guys buy money in bulk
You
to be
can.
able to use that based on getting rid of all of that money, and that's how you can buy all of that down. So again, buyers understand it's not, the builders will buy a chunk of money with a certain rate and be able to loan you that money based on a certain rate, as opposed to they're not just borrowing $200,000 with
Yeah,
different rates.
so that's a forward commitment. In some cases, we can do that. It just depends on the market. Like right now, it'd be a horrible time to buy a forward commitment because rates are so volatile. Because you could buy a forward commitment today, lock you in at 5.2, 5.5, and then 2 days later you could be at 4.9. So it just depends on what's going on in the market. Like right now, we're not buying forward commitments. We're just spending the money up front on seller concessions to be able to buy the rate down. But there are now, if you'd asked me this question a month ago, I wish I'd have bought a lot of money on forward commitment.
Right.
But obviously it's too late. But right now I wouldn't do it because rates are kind of ticked up a little bit. But we still buy your rate down.
So $10,000, 10.5 will buy me a $300,000 home. Let's just say I have pretty good credit, right? Maybe 675 to 800, right? Something like that. And that's considered good credit, right? 675.
Yeah.
760 and above is like the highest here.
Yeah.
760 and above.
680 is kind of the 680 is kind of where you want to be, but there's different lenders that have different programs. So
Okay. And then obviously that affects your interest rate.
Yeah. Well,
So-
and I will tell us, like Riverside, we do stellar financing. So we're not going to do 3.5% down, but we can, depending on the situation, we can look at a 20% down, any one of our homes and seller finance a deal. And that comes into play with these people that own their own company. They can't verify their income or whatnot. Now, we still have to follow the laws to verify to make sure that they can qualify and afford the mortgage, but we can be a little bit more creative on where the income's coming from.
Okay.
And that's probably not most builders. Clint Builders,
Yeah.
probably one of the very few that do that. I don't know too many builders that do that. That's a pretty rare and unique thing. That's they've got some. Riverside has awesome programs for those buyers for sure.
Yeah,
that's good to know. All right, so first time home buyer, I'm going in with 10 grand. I can ask my parents for 10,000. Right. I mean, that's not bad. So, but it's just the moving forward, having a property of your own, whether you're single or if you're starting a family or you just got married, I mean, this is it, right? I mean, just owning, that's the American dream. It's everything that we're always taught to do. So if you're coming out of college or you just graduated, maybe you just got your first job, you want to get out of an apartment, you want to have some land, you want to have something on your own, whatever that is, buy a brand new house. I have one more question, and I'm gonna ask this. How do you manage the whole process, right? I mean, is systems involved? Selfishly, Clint, you guys use one of our systems, and
Mhm.
does that actually help you manage? Like, does it help you manage the sales
Oh,
side, construction, all of that?
yeah. So I'm going to speak, obviously, because I've been here since day one when we didn't have software. Obviously, early on, when you're closing, 30, 40, 50 homes a year, you kind of don't need it. But as we grew and as we got multiple salespeople in the field, we quickly realized we needed a CRM to manage follow up and selling the process. We needed a software that allowed them to submit offers digitally, which our current software allows us to do that. Um, so we're fully integrated from the start of the sale all the way to the end of the sale with customer service within our system. Um, our scheduling software on the building side, we use a full BuildTopia. Of course, as you know, Andrew, is our software. Um, we use the scheduling side. So when we're closing roughly 600 homes a year now, and there's no way we could ever do it without software. And we're at a point now to where we have reporting on every aspect of our business, which allows us to manage, I hate to say this, from our desk, right? Because we can't be everywhere. So, yes, systems is extremely important when it comes to home building. When you hit a certain mark on number of homes you build,
For sure.
I would say, even down to the smaller, because if you want to get really good at it and really fine tune how much money you're making, you need systems, because otherwise you have no clue where money's going.
That's a really good thing is, yeah, you don't know how much each home really costs you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I like that, you have a process during it. Maybe you're 20, 30, you don't need it, but like once you start getting more, you're going to need a process and you're going to manage by exception. You're going to look at bottlenecks. You need to be able to identify different things where, God, our variance is happening over here for a
Hmm.
certain reason. Softwares like yours identify those spots where we can be more efficient. And I don't say it just for us to make money, but if we're more efficient from the builder from how we see it, then we can actually be better at our cost for our customers, right? So
Yeah.
everybody's think, well, if you're trying to just save more money, well, if we can save more money on this side, then if we can, we still need our margin, but that means we can lower our home a certain amount more and help our buyers if we're more efficient. So I think there's a lot of reasons why it's good, especially when you're doing some volume.
It allows you to set the expectation, right? So, predictions. I mean, we can use our software now over scheduling to predict when we'll complete a home in certain areas. So, and that goes back to the very first conversation we had is setting the right expectations. We can do that with the software that we have.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, guys, all right. Well, there's still a lot of content that we need to get to, so I think I'm gonna save it
Okay.
until our next until number 38. Kind of exciting. So we will reconvene. Everyone, thank you guys very much. I just want a big shout out to Pivot Homes. If you guys are looking for a move up type of style home, if you're in the DFW area, go to Pivot. It's PYVOT homes.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Pivot
All
homes.
you all of you first time homeowners or home buyers, if you it's graduation season right now, right? A lot of colleges are graduating, a lot of college kids graduating right now. If or it's the beginning of the summer. This is a huge home building summer sales season right now. We're in this season. All of those different things, I would say go to riversidehomebuilders.com.
That's correct.
RiversideHomeBuilders.com. I know these guys. I know the sales team. Both of these guys that you guys are looking at here, they walk you through the process, right? They want to walk you through the process. They want to educate you on what's that next step. How can
Mm,
we help you? Maybe you just go and see these guys just to talk about the process,
Mhm.
right? Let them show
Absolutely.
you a home. Maybe it's something that you work towards, right? Again, $10,500 to get yourself into a brand new home. that's kind of a no-brainer to me, right? So anyways, thank
And to
you.
endorse Clint, I want to endorse Clint too one more time. I've been working with them for 14 years, like on the consulting and sales side, but there's no better people. That's a great team. Their product is great. What they do with their customers is great. I would recommend them to anybody.
Thanks. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank
Same to you, bud.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys. I'm looking forward to hearing more Zig Ziglar. More
Me too.
impressions. I
Got another good one. It's a little longer. It's like, you gotta prime the pump. Like I got all kinds of things, man.
that's hilarious. Well, I hope you feel better because that didn't
All right.
seem like it hurt your voice.
I'm sick as a dog. I'm fighting through this. As soon as I do this, I'm gonna take an IV and go lay down.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
All right, that wraps up this episode of the Power to Build show.
We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did.
In this limited series, we'll continue to explore topics like this, real issues, real conversations, and real lessons from builders who've been there.
As always, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Power to Build show.
Yep, don't forget to like and subscribe.